Sometimes we have clients that say, I actually care less about the company and it's more about figuring what role I want to do. I
Hmm.
used to be in this kind of role and I think I want to make a change, or I really love what I do and I don't want to change that. So, like, I know I want to search for this kind of role. So, while we put company as step one, it could also be figuring out the roles you want to target and why. So, one and two can kind of be flipped. But how do people start to think about the roles if they aren't certain about what role they want to do next?
Just do a little bit of a meditation on where you've been and what you've done up to that point,
Mm.
and start building out sort of a pros and cons list of what you've really enjoyed, like what was impactful in your past experiences, and really start to dissect that of, what was the goal of the work that you were doing? Who were you cross functionally working with in that position? And start to really dissect the experiences that were particularly rewarding for you in your past roles, and understand what that is, and see how you can apply that to whatever your next step is. But really, the answers a lot of times can be there, and you could have been in the role that you're looking for in some form or fashion, or the right focus that, for whatever reason your career took you away from that. But start to dive into those past experiences and really ask yourself, why did I enjoy that? Why was that so impactful, or did that resonate with me? And then how do I apply that moving forward?
Yeah, the why is so important because it's easy to say, oh, I loved working on that project.
Hmm.
But if you don't kind of take it to the next level of like, oh, I really enjoyed working on that project because I got to work with this different department, or I had the chance to use a skill that I didn't usually do, or I got to learn this industry differently. That's actually what's important, not the project itself. And so when you sort of take it to the
Hmm.
next level, that's when you really start getting to the crux of it. I think the other thing, and we talked about this actually in the workshop we led in April, is that it's also this combination of, and like this, I don't know, Venn diagram or whatever, of what you enjoy doing and what you're good at, because there are things you might be
Hmm.
good at that you actually don't enjoy doing. So where do
Sure.
those two things overlap? And that can make a big difference.
Yep, absolutely. But again, it's asking yourself, that why question is so important, and putting a little bit of color into what actually resonated with you, dissect that, and then, you know, you can sort of build and construct what your next position is based off those positives from your past.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we talk about these things today, we're doing this in a certain order on purpose. Like I said, company and role, maybe you could flip back and forth depending on sort of where you are in your career, sort of where you are in your journey. But you need to do those two things first, because now when you get to step number three, which is getting your resume and LinkedIn updated in a way that positions you for those roles, it's the second part of that sentence that makes it number three. I can sit down and update a resume today, but I don't have the context of who I'm
Hmm.
targeting and who I'm trying to tell my story to with that resume. So it'll just be a bunch of bullets. You need to know what kind of companies or what kind of roles you're targeting in order to update your resume and your LinkedIn in a way that's actually going to get you the attention of those companies and roles.
Yeah, 1,000%. I like the way you sort of piece that together, because if you go and you look at the companies and you look at the types of roles and you kind of figure that out, you can actually start to work backwards from,
Mm.
take a look at what some of the job postings are, the job descriptions that these companies have, or these roles are out there, and understand the points, or what they're highlighting as being important to the role. And then you can look and massage that into your resume. But you have to have the context of what your target is,
Yeah.
to really start to work backwards from that, and piece together how you're telling your narrative, and where you can, um, how you can really share what your transferable experience is, when you understand what they're looking for too on the other end.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is going to tie into our next point here in a second, which I'll get to, but I want to do a sidebar quickly.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on always updating your resume or your LinkedIn with things as they happen as well? So we work with a couple of clients who haven't job searched in a while. And all of a sudden they're like, I don't know, what did I do in my job? I don't know. Like, I can't even remember what I did yesterday, let alone a couple of
Hmm.
years ago. What value is there in either updating LinkedIn here and there, or having a Word doc where you're like dumping stuff into a resume that maybe you're not putting any, like you're not putting out anywhere, but when you get to these stories, it's there? Or is that not helpful because I'm supposed to be positioning it with what I'm trying to look for?
I think it's actually a great idea to have a running doc of
Mhm.
sort of things that you've owned or things that you look at as a compliment, accomplishments, or what you've achieved in your role. And just
Mhm.
like I've done it in roles where I'll have my notes open on my computer and just kind of have this one tab that lives there where I'll toss little things in there, whether it was something to do with managing a team or something new that I've taken on or working with a new cross-functional partner. But yes, 1,000%, like have a space where that information lives, because as we talk about a lot with clients, like it's so, and that's where the interview process can be really tough,
Mhm.
is surfacing these things that you haven't thought about in a while, keep them top of mind. And then, as you do go through and you look at jobs, you can have sort of your core resume based on job descriptions that you're seeing out there and what you've learned from doing a little bit of research. And then you can sort of take those tidbits and add them in
Mhm.
where necessary or where you feel like you can really leverage them based on something in a particular job description.